Let's get to some bullshit. I know it's late, but nevertheless, we got to keep it going here. Did you see Donald Trump's reaction to Trevor Noah? So Trevor Noah was clowning, and I do see some of you guys saying, I'm a fair guy, and if we have time tonight, again, I'm doing a poll here. So 1 in the chat if it's yes, 2 in the chat if it's no. We're probably going to keep going back to this DOJ release of this quote unquote Epstein files. If you want us to, like, I think some people accuse me, or they think that I'm like dodging this idea or the mentions of Trump in there. Like, the fuck, like, we could talk about everything. What the hell? You know what I mean? I think everything in there should be talked about, right? This is the Epstein files that everybody claimed was the fucking rubric, the code book, the Da Vinci Code to finding out pedophiles. And now that it came out and people start seeing their mans in it, and people like, nah, we don't talk about that, man. Niggas in here lying, man. Right? Like, the people who are talking about the Epstein files, I love Charlamagne and everything. But I was watching Brilliant Idiots last week. Charlamagne's like, what about the Epstein files, right? And shit, I mean, I've been agreeing. A lot of people have been agreeing. The Epstein files come out. Jay-Z gets mentioned. Like, yes, it's unsubstantiated in one reported tip call. But these are things that the FBI and other officials were investigating, and that was the substance of what they feel like this, cabal was in terms of this sex trafficking ring that included a lot of powerful people, not necessarily only with kids, but like it was a network of people that maybe not everybody were all involved in this really evil network, right? So of course, yes, there's some things about calls, right? Again, I'm not saying it's necessarily true, but it's in the files. But also, Jay-Z wasn't only mentioned there. Jay-Z was also mentioned in the goddamn. He was mentioned in emails. Like, we saw billionaires emailing about, his perceived control over the black community. These are things that we see later on kind of manifest, where we kind of see these people almost say, yo, Jay-Z could just control the niggas. These are things that I think we should talk about. I'm not saying Jay-Z is guilty of anything. Obviously, one thing that I think no one wants to talk about, which I think is very hypocritical of all the the music, media, or cultural commentators or podcasters, is that, hey, listen, you don't have to instantly defend Jay-Z. People have questions, and you should help clarify the questions, especially if you either know him or you've been around. Here's a few questions. Did Jay-Z sleep with an underage Foxy Brown? Is there something we're missing there? Did he sleep with underage Aaliyah? Did he meet Beyonce? These conversations about, listen, pictures of him and them underage, right? We all know with the Tiger thing. Come on. How can't we have like some type of, conversation about that? I think these days, right? Like, I heard my man Joe Budden when, that's how Drake wrote up that long ass thing saying, I own a 737 and you own a modest house in New Jersey. The reason why he wrote it up, Drake was upset that Joe Budden was alluding to possible creepiness, not necessarily pedophilic, but creepiness in terms of Drake having some affinity for young women. Well, could that be the same thing said about Jay-Z? If we are now in post kind of looking at these relationships, and it's not only Jay-Z's, Russell Simmons and a lot of them, but it feels like there's a protective, group that don't want to talk about that for those artists in that time. If it was an artist in this time, it would definitely get scrutinized more, right? Shit like, I remember I was giving like a random example of things that was happening in college culture when I was talking about Tiger, and shit, they didn't even get mad at, well, I guess people did get mad at Tiger, but they got mad at me. The point is this: how come we can't talk about, was Jay-Z like a 30-year-old nigga that was attracted to women that were barely legal? Yes or no? We're just asking questions. These things seem like they're not it's just no need to talk about it. And we get everybody like vehemently saying there's nothing to talk about here. And that is the same kind of attitude that, the government kind of gave us about the Epstein list. Like, if no one's down to have the conversation, it feels like someone's hiding something, right? If anytime you ask the question, you're now looked at and scoffed at like, yo, why the fuck are you saying that? While if it was anyone else, right? Drake, you like him young. I mean, Joe literally, again, I'm not, I'm not, necessarily calling out my guy here. I'm not going against him. But I'm just saying, in fairness, like Joe said, hey, listen, you're making music for a certain demographic. Stop hanging around these young motherfuckers and start doing whatever. And he felt that was a valid thing to say at the time. We are now getting a lot of not only accusations, but just narratives that might not just completely be all criminal in terms of factuality. But it appears that maybe Jay-Z did have an affinity for a certain type of people. Could we discuss it? Like, I wasn't around when that was happening. I would love for the people who were around to kind of give some context. But none of them seem like they want to have that conversation. If anything, they like to point to the most absurd elements of anything that comes out and say, you're an idiot if you believe that. Okay, cool. We get it. There was an anonymous tip that put him in a room with William Barr and Harvey Weinstein and stuff. But I think and maybe someone mislabeled a couple pictures or whatever the case is. But I think it's kind of like indisputable that Jay-Z was around a lot of women as they were barely turning, like they were 15, 16, 17, about to turn 18. And later on, we hear or it's rumored that he fucked them. Like, we just want to know. I wasn't around. Could somebody give us information? That conversation isn't welcomed at this point in hip hop discussion spaces, I think. Anyway, you could speculate one way or the other. I'm just saying that's going to create an Epstein Files-like effect, right? Because no one's having these qualitative conversations. People are going to think that you guys are covering something up. So I'm just giving, this blanket, because I was waiting for people to respond, and I seen some responses, and I'm like, okay. I don't think these people are bad people, but I'm like, I know how this works with the public. When you tell the public, shut the fuck up and stop asking, or y'all are stupid for even thinking about this, people are going to say, okay, you're hiding it, right? It is what it is. So, one in the chat, if you guys do want at some point tonight, or maybe if not tonight, we'll do it tomorrow. We could get into the Epstein files where Donald Trump is mentioned. Again, it's interesting as people, the same people that were saying that they piggybacked on the possible opportunity that Trump was in the Epstein files. They made it seem like, well, this kind of means or suggests that he's guilty. Now, when they saw Jay-Z up in there, they're like, that was bullshit. You know what I mean? So for me, I like to call a spade a spade. Like, so, I like Donald Trump as a president, but if he's in there and Jay-Z's in there and Epstein's in there, well, obviously Epstein, there's proof. But whatever I think of Jay-Z, where there isn't much proof, I think of Trump. So it's no way I'm going to think Trump did something when he's mentioned in the same file as Jay-Z. I either think they both did it or I think none of them did it. And that's me. I'm gonna just be fair with it. And that's what I'm saying for the people who think I was dodging the topic of Trump being in there. No, well, let's read it. Let's read it. My only thing is, I want to say if unless we have real shit that we could actually prosecute with, either Trump and Jay-Z guilty, or we just got to say, man, we don't know, or they both ain't guilty. But they're all in the same, the same ballpark to me, Because, again, the DOJ hasn't done any, well, we don't know other investigations they've done, but they haven't, we haven't seen nobody else get arrested, right? So, I think people are hoping there's a client list and people who are also involved in sex trafficking will get arrested. However, after Ghislaine Maxwell, there hasn't been any other arrest. Okay, so you guys let me know. However, Trevor Noah at the Grammys, who he hosted, I didn't watch the full thing. He roasted Trump, okay? He had a couple jokes, and, it's kind of par for the course. But this is what he said. Here we go.
Congratulations. Song of the Year. Congratulations, Billie Eilish. Wow. That is a Grammy that every artist wants, almost as much as Trump wants Greenland, which makes sense. I mean, because Epstein's island is gone, he needs a new one to hang out with Bill Clinton. So, I told you it's my last year. What are you going to do about it?
Oh, wow. Now it's interesting. Where's Bill Clinton been? He hasn't got a lot of smoke. Here's another one, I believe.
John Legend, Billie Eilish, Phineas, Nicki Minaj is not here. She is not here.
So while he was taking a jab at Nicki, also, it was about Nicki hanging with Trump. Obviously, Trump probably took offense.
She is still at the White House with Donald Trump discussing very important issues. Actually, Nikki, I have the biggest ass. I have it. Everybody's saying it, Nikki. I know they say it's you, but it's me. Wop, wop, wop. Look at it. Look at it, baby. Jennifer.
Okay, let's see. What else?
Song of the year. I mean, because.
Okay, so was it only two? Maybe it was only two. Okay. Think it was only two. Anyway, Trump actually hit back on Truth Social with a very long post, and he says, the Grammy Awards are the worst, virtually unwatchable. CBS is lucky not to have this garbage litter their airwaves any longer. Now, chat. Remember, I keep telling you. Hold on. Okay. Oh, remember I keep telling you, everything we're going to discuss, from petty arguments to whatever, you got to think about business. This is how to think about the world. You got to think like this to know how to move. Look what Trump says. He's responding to Trevor Noah. The Grammy Awards are the worst, virtually unwatchable. CBS is lucky to not have this garbage litter their airwaves any longer. Why does he say this? By the way, I want to mention this other thing. Have you ever heard of late night host Stephen Colbert? Stephen Colbert, he did a late night show. I'll just read what it says. He's best known for hosting a Comedy Central news a satire show, and he did a talk show on CBS called Late Show with Stephen Colbert since 2015. Okay, so he was on CBS doing the Late Show with Stephen Colbert since 2015. He's a guy who has criticized Trump a lot. Trump don't like him. Okay, now remember, watch how all this comes together. Trump don't like him. He's criticized him. He's on CBS. Let's think business. Who owns CBS? Well, CBS is owned by Paramount. Paramount owns CBS, right? So Paramount Global owns CBS. So CBS got a guy on there, Stephen Colbert. He dissing Trump. Trump don't like him. Who owns CBS? Paramount Global. Remember, I told you Paramount Global had to pay out $60 million to Trump, and that was pretty much rushed and approved in a settlement. Why? It was bought by David Ellison, Skydance. They buy Paramount. Merger of Skydance and Paramount. This happened in 2024, okay? So now Trump gets his $60 million. CBS knows don't fuck with Trump anymore. Paramount gets bought by Skydance. Remember, Skydance, their CEO is David Ellison. The daddy is David Ellison owns Skydance, which buys Paramount, and the daddy is Larry Ellison, which is the big dog, second richest man in the world. Now, what does this have to do with Trump's message? Because Trump got these niggas by the balls. Pause. I'm going to tell you how. First and foremost, Skydance, Paramount. So remember, Paramount Skydance. That's now owned by David Ellison. They're trying to buy Warner Brothers. They're competing with Netflix. They're going through what's called like a lot of antitrust litigations because they're trying to say that Netflix is competing unfairly, and them buying up Warner Brothers is going to fuck up the market. Netflix is claiming the same thing, claiming that Paramount, which is also a huge company as well, they're trying to be a monopoly. It's turned into a thing where the government is going to have to decide, right? The government got to decide. Now, when the government got to decide on anything potentially, you know who you want to be friends with. The guy, right? Donald J. Trump. Now, that's not why I brought it up. I brought it up because the reason why Trump says this is not because he got $60 million from them and then David Ellison's company buys it, is actually because during the time of Trump picking who TikTok is going to rock with. Remember, Trump is very petty. Everybody tried to appease him to make sure that he would pick them. Now, keep in mind, CBS pays the money already. CBS is under Paramount, and it's now Paramount Skydance. David Ellison runs it. And here's what happens. They still hire this guy, Stephen Colbert, that's dissing Trump. Okay? Let's Google this. Now, what ends up happening, okay? By the way, he also blasted CBS for paying the money. Okay? He blasted them. What essentially happened is that as they're hoping that Trump picks the right people for TikTok, they stop putting certain shows on air. So it's really more complicated. I'm trying to simplify it, right? They basically say, if any of y'all start fucking with Trump, like making jokes about him, shit like that, you know what I mean? If you don't like y'all, like whether it's like a Jimmy Kimmel or whatever the case is, it happened to Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel, Trump, suspended. He basically, like, the government basically pressured the company to say, if y'all want, and this was ABC that got hit with this, if y'all keep fucking with Trump, your other business ventures ain't gonna turn out too good. Now, who owns Trump? No, who owns ABC? ABC, I believe, is owned by Disney. Who owns ABC? ABC is owned by Disney, Walt Disney. Okay? At that time, Disney was also trying to do some things with, they got Disney Plus, but they were also trying to get the bid for something else, I believe. But they needed the government. And this is how Trump kind of plays, but I don't think it's just Trump. I think it's all politicians. Y'all companies really need me. So really, Trump he's kind of like throwing these smoke signals, right? CBS is lucky not to have this on their airwaves anymore. The guy who now runs CBS is Trump's homie, or not really homie, but yeah. The host, Trevor Noah, is almost as bad as Kimmel. Why is he bringing up Kimmel? Because he stepped on Kimmel, right? ABC took Kimmel off the air after Trump, vehemently disagreed with, why did Jimmy Kimmel get suspended? Let's see. The corporate company, Walt Disney, suspended production following the criticism of conservatives and public pressure from the Trump officials. I forgot why he said something particular. Okay. They said it was problematic. Okay. And then he did return. I don't think he officially offered an apology, but he pretty much got, he got slapped into submission. Do not talk about Trump. Okay. So anyway, so this is why Trump is talking like this, right? He says, whoever he is might be as bad as Jimmy Kimmel in the low ratings Academy Awards. Noah said incorrectly about me that Donald Trump and Bill Clinton spent time at the Epstein Island. Wrong. I can't speak for Bill, but I've never been to Epstein Island nor anywhere close. Until tonight's false and defamatory statement, I've never been accused of being there, not even by the fake news media. Noah, a total loser, better get his facts straight and better get them straight fast. It looks like I'll be sending my lawyers to sue this poor, pathetic, talentless dope of an MC and suing him for plenty of money. Ask little George Slopadopoulos and others how that all worked out. Also ask ABC. Get ready, Noah. I'm going to have fun with you, President DJT. Now, what Trump is doing, and he's a seasoned pro at this, he's doing what Meg Thee Stallion failed to do. So in most jurisdictions, when you're dealing with media, you got to give them a chance to correct themselves. So you can't just sue. So this is, even though it's not a cease and desist, it's pretty much a cease and desist. Like it will be pointed at in court if he ever sues this guy, to say, hey, listen, I alerted him that it was not true, and there probably going to be some formal, like, send some paperwork to say, hey, go online and apologize. Now here's the thing: if we see Trevor Noah come online and apologize for a joke, he looks pussy. So, like, they're going to try to play that a little differently. But if not, it sets up a lawsuit for Trump. And Trump, at this point, he literally has the Trump card. He has CBS in his back pocket. All these companies that are trying to make major moves, right? And all these companies, this is another business or, a business segment here. Most companies these days are heading towards being monopolies. So they're doing a lot of questionable things, acquiring other competitors, other companies, expanding their reach into other things. And at a point, the government has to decide whether they could continue to operate like that, or they have to stop, or they have to let certain things go. Because monopolies, there are rules against monopolies. But the way to get around that is that, you need the government to be on your side. The government has to like you. Well, you know who runs the government at this point. So it's like, these companies aren't going to back these guys, right? So it's like, if Trump really goes against Trevor Noah, I don't know what stations he's on, but if Trump really is that mad, he could sue. He could pressure them to get that motherfucker out of there and whatever. Anyway, that's just the business part of it. Anyway, he was asked about this. It looked like this was a press briefing or something of the sort. This was is this the Oval Office? I can't tell. And they asked him about Trevor Noah. He said this.
Mr. President, are you going to sue Trevor Noah? Last night in a post, you alluded that something could be coming.
Yeah, well, he said that I spent time on.
Now, of course, by the way, Trevor Noah's defense, which I don't know if he would want to take it to court. Trump is so powerful, got unlimited amount of money, and has a history of winning these things. You could always say this was a joke, right? And that's art. Like, it's like that's the idea behind UMG saying to Drake, yeah, Kendrick said you're a PDF, but he said it in art as a part of not necessarily a joke, but diss rap, and that's a quintessential part of the culture and the music business you're in. Which, by the way, the courts agreed with, and I don't know if we talked about it. Drake did file an appeal, but that's why that defamation got knocked out. So Trevor could kind of claim the same thing, like, hey, I said it, but I didn't say it matter-of-factly. I said it as a joke. I said it as part of a shtick, and, it wasn't meant to be taken serious. I never doubled down on it, and, obviously something over some 808s could be considered more of not necessarily a matter-of-fact statement, as opposed to you being on the Grammys with a huge audience and you actually saying it. Some people might be like, that's not a joke, that's you making a statement. So, yeah, we'll see what happens, but let me have him finish his statement here.
Mr. President, are you going to sue Trevor Noah? Last night in a post, you alluded that something could be coming.
Yeah, well, he said that I spent time on Jeffrey Epstein's island. I didn't. I mean, he's a lightweight, this guy. He's a terrible. I think he's terrible. I thought he did a terrible job at the Grammys. I thought the whole Grammys was terrible. I watched part of it. It's not watchable. But he was a lousy host. I'd say not as bad as Jimmy Kimmel, but pretty close. And no, he made a statement about me and Jeffrey Epstein. I have nothing to do with that. I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And in fact, if you look at the DOJ, they announced, they released 3 million pages. It's like this is all they're supposed to be doing. And frankly, the DOJ, I think, should just say, we have other things to do, because that whole thing has turned out, other than Bill Clinton and, Bill Gates and lots of people there are a lot of questions about it, but nothing on me. But it was.
Mr. President, are you going to sue Trevor Noah? Last night in a post.
All right. Trevor Noah, after laughing about Nicki Minaj, man, I'm telling y'all, the barbs might be better than the CIA. By the way, thank you, OVO 108 for the 5. Says, I love Axe Breakdown. Okay. Let me see. I'll read your donation. Thank you. Chat, I'm going to start having little, we're going to call it the lebebe breaks, okay? The water breaks. So, if you need to go take a piss real quick or something like that, you guys, I'll read donations at that time. Rather than just going through topics and then mid-topic just go into read a donation. Okay, the barbs are really good.